Imagine you enter the world of the Shogun warriors. They're on the move. There's Raideen with Delta Wing missiles, Dragoon with a star shooter, and Mazinga with a rocket launcher. The Shoguns. Imagine you command them to defend freedom, protect justice, and challenge evil. The Shoguns. They're ready to strike when you are. Shogun warriors, Mazinga, Dragoon, Raideen, equipped with their own gear, each sold separately from Mattel.
And we now return to RB's Toy Box.
Today on RB's Toy Box, we're going to take a look at the Shogun Warriors from 1978. Stay tuned. Today on RB's Toy Box, we're going to go all the way back to 1978. Now that was a very special year for me, and it was a very important time for me as a child, because in that frame of time from the mid-70s all the way to the mid-80s, anime with shows like, Battle of the Planets and Voltron were coming out, and those were some of my absolute favorite things when I was a kid. But beyond that was a very specific toy that, I'm going to be honest with you, I spent a lot of time trying to remember it. I had a small picture of it in my mind. Some of you know that, because of the Desert Storm Syndrome, I lost a lot of the nerve function that allows my memory to work. And there, for a huge chunk of my life, I lost a good chunk of it. So there's bits and fragments and pieces of memories that I've got. And this particular toy was one of those memories. And I'm going to be honest with you, I just couldn't get a hold of it. But I was able to find it. And I want to show it to you today. Let's take a little walk over here into the other room with RB's Toy Box, because I want to really share this opportunity, this moment, because I was able to find something, not just the piece of it and not just a piece of my history with it, but even more important with that, I found a brand new one. What I'm talking about today is the Shogun Arrow plane. Let's look at this a little bit closer. Now, just like all of the other toys that I am able to remember, it always starts with a little fragment. And when I was a kid, I could remember there was something about this particular plane, this little jet, that this could be removed, which, it does, and that this piece here came and fell down in replacement of it. Now, the reason why this stood so much out in my memory is that this, to me, when I was a kid, was my Phoenix. With the Battle of the Planets and G-Force, they didn't have the Phoenix where you could get a hold of it and be able to play with it. So I needed something that I could use as my Phoenix when, we're playing with the, acting out the roles and everything. And this became our Phoenix. So that made this a very, very special toy for me, because again, I love Battle of the Planets. And so I was able to track, well, let me back up a little bit, just ever so quickly for those of you that haven't turned me off yet. Again, I could remember bits and pieces of it, but I couldn't remember anything else. And so I searched Google with keywords like jet plane, vintage jet plane, 70s airplane, and there was everything on planet Earth, missiles and detachable cockpit, and every keyword I could possibly think of to be able to find it. And I just happened to come across a Shogun plane. It was not this one, but there were enough similarities to it for me be able to go, maybe that's the right brand, maybe that's the right, you know, in that same area. And so I pulled up everything I could find about that Shogun line, and this was obviously probably not that popular because there's almost no YouTube videos online about this. One or two, but there, I mean, there's none of the commercials have it in there. They all have the big Shogun, you know, characters, but nothing really about this. And so again, I just kept digging and digging and digging, and then I did finally find the plane. And then of course I went to, lo and behold, eBay, and eBay had several different ones that's, you know, some of them were really faded, the stickers were gone, you know, typical thing you're going to see from a toy from 1978. And I even got this one while I was out there, it had a little broken piece on it. And when I finally came down to it, I found 2 or 3 vendors on there that still had these in a case somewhere, and they were brand spanking new in the box with the missiles and the instructions and everything. And so I jumped on it. This particular vendor had a, you know, make an offer, and I made an offer, actually kind of lowballed it a little bit to see if he would counter, and he did not. He accepted it, and I'm very thankful for that he did, because it was about 30 bucks less than what they were asking. And so they shipped it over, came in pretty fast in shipping, but I was able to get a hold of one of these. Now, they remade this in a couple of different ways for those of you that are considering to get this, because one of the things that was driving me nuts is the fact that mine, as I could recall, had red missiles. And all of these had yellow. And moreover than that, I guess just because maybe in the 70s, you know, they were starting to wake up to kids doing silly things with silly toys, but I guess they were swallowing the little missiles. And so they made these missiles to go in place of it, so that, I guess, you know, if you're going to choke a kid, I think that would choke him worse, don't you think? These are going to at least pass through. I'm just saying. This is going to get stuck in your larynx. I don't know why this is somehow safer than these are, but, you know, somebody somewhere in some boardroom apparently thought that they were. That being said, I went ahead and I found somebody else that had the missiles in a separate auction, and I bided my time for those, and then I went ahead and bid on them, and I lost that auction, supposedly. And then I went over and I bought this one because it did have the red missiles with it. And, you know, I figured there were so many people bidding on these that I knew that as soon as if I didn't win this, somebody was going to go grab this one. So I went and grabbed this one, because this whole ship with the broken stabilizer up here was about the same price as these missiles. So when I lost this auction, I went over and I ran and I grabbed this one. Bing! Then I get a notice from eBay, you won this auction. So I ended up spending $22 more than I needed to get these red missiles, just so I can complete this the way that I remembered it. So Daryl, if you're watching this, I have an extra set of red missiles for yours. That's funny. But, so, again, that's, it's not just finding one. Finally, I mean, this was agonizing for me because it was such a favorite toy of mine, and I could just remember just the little bitty bits and pieces of it. And as a result, you know, just how elated I am to not only find one of these, that was such an important part of my childhood. And for those of you that are of my vintage, you know, this makes sense. You know, you take some of these kids nowadays, they got so many toys laying around everywhere. You know, it's not that important to them. You know, if they don't ever get a toy, and they're fine, you know. But for me, when I was a kid, when my brother and I were kids, we didn't get toys all the time. I mean, you got a toy on your birthday, and you got a few toys on Christmas. That was it. There was no going to Kmart and going, Mommy, I want that. And if you got, boom, you know, that's what you got in return for that, you know. You don't do that twice, and you're like, oh, Mama, I don't want nothing. Just thank you, Mama. You know, that's the way that we grew up. So when we got a hold of toys that were like this, I mean, good quality, you know, what I would say good quality, I mean, die-cast toys, and the fact that, you know, they were very much a part of our imagination, to be able to do and use this. And again, for me, this was the Phoenix. I mean, everything about it. I mean, I didn't even know what Shogun really was, except I remembered later that I had, you know, some of those small characters, and I was going to get some of those, but man, are they expensive. Wow. But this, again, especially because of Battle of the Planets with G-Force, this was a super important piece for me. But look how just wonderful this is as a piece. Again, this detaches here, and then this comes down in place, and then you got this cool little thing, and then you can shoot those missiles off there. I mean, just such a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful piece. And as you can tell, I'm really excited because this, again, this was just a really special thing for me after literally years of searching to be able to put the pieces together with my fractured memory and be able to find something that was such a special toy for me as a child. Almost makes me cry. Almost. So, I hope that you enjoyed my little walk down memory lane here with RBsToyBox. If you like what you're seeing, make sure that you click that little subscribe button down there and say a little hello. It really helps me know that some of the videos that we're doing here is special for someone else. And to be able to say, you know what, I like your videos and keep up the good work. Because we don't really monetize these or anything. This is something I do just to share my collection and my love for collecting. And especially sharing memories like this one. We'll see you next time here on RBsToyBox.